Hey everybody on YouTube, it's Austin here, and well, there's a lot to explain before I jump right into this video. First of all, I was actually supposed to be racing today, and you would have been getting GoPro videos coming this week of me at Washougal for quad cross, but unfortunately the race has been canceled for the same reason that I'm wearing a mask in my garage. Now, there's not coronavirus floating around in here, but there is a lot of wildfire smoke, and while technically the mask actually doesn't filter out the smoke, it makes it much more bearable because it smells awful here. I believe the air quality is actually somewhere around 600 right now. The air quality index only goes to 500, and I believe that's because it's not air anymore. It's not an air quality index when the air is actually just wildfire smoke. So yeah, it's really lovely. I closed the door. I've got my awesome Slayer mask on, which is my favorite mask to wear when I have to go into stores and whatnot, because Washington has some great mandates that force you to wear a mask when you go inside anywhere. So anyways, that kind of explains the mask, why I'm making a video today. And with that, I'm going to flip it around. And this is what we're going to be focusing on. The subject of today's video. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but explain what's been going on with this yellow machine, because you've obviously seen a lot of me riding this, having a pretty good season on it so far. And stuffed in the back of the garage has been the LTR. And I did promise when I first started making YouTube videos again at the beginning of the year that I would jump into the LTR and explain more of what's going on. And I figured it out, and it's not particularly good. You can see there's a valve cover gasket hanging on the handlebars there, which is never a good indication. So I'll go ahead and take some of these parts off, which have been set on top of the quad just to make more room in my garage. And I'll show you what we've got here. We've got the valve cover off. We've got the valve cover itself there, and some cam caps. And you may notice in the bottom there's also a thread insert kit, which is never a good sign. So a little background about what's going on here. Number one, this quad was having a horrible time starting. You try and start it, and usually you just get a solenoid click, or you get a weird kind of whining or buzzing from the solenoid. So try to diagnose it as best as possible. Really couldn't trace anything down that seemed out of the ordinary, so I ended up going through and replaced the solenoid, the relay, fuses, the battery, quite a bit. And that seemed to make it start reliably about 90% of the time, but every now and then you'd still get a weird click. At the same time, it also needed new valve seals. So I took it off and I did valve seals right around the time that I started making YouTube videos back in January. So I did that, and then when I went to put my valve cover back on, I torqued it down to the valve spec. I believe it's 7 foot-pounds off the top of my head. And instead, well, the valve cover, just the bolts, they spun, which is never a good sign. I couldn't get them torqued down. They were staying in. They hadn't completely stripped, but most of the threads were pretty poorly damaged. So, first of all, my initial assumption was that I powder coated my valve cover, and powder coating adds quite a bit of thickness to it, and I never really thought about it, but you can see there's these two indentations where the bolts go here, and there's these kind of like rubber crush washer type things that go here, and that's what it bolts down to. I already thrown them away because they're bad. I threw them away months ago, but you can see you've got this kind of large button head Allen. It's got a little bit of a, I can't think of the name of it right now, but anyways, so that goes in there. It goes on top of that rubber washer that's got, I believe, maybe a copper insert inside of the rubber. Anyways, but it crushes down. Well, I was thinking that the thickness of adding powder coat to the valve cover might have made it so that essentially this guy wasn't able to grab enough of the threads in the cam cap, and that was my issue. So I planned on taking all this out and taking it back down to just the bare valve cover underneath the powder coat, which would help me out there. But I also had another problem. My threads were damaged to my cam caps. I believe. Here we go. So this is one of them here. You're probably not going to be able to see it in the video because camera quality isn't all that great. But anyhow, the threads were bad. So, like I said earlier, I got a thread insert kit, and my sort of last ditch effort was see if I could basically repair the threads and put a new thread insert in these. Because if you don't know, when your cam caps go bad, you actually have to get an entirely new head, because these are matched to your cylinder head. And so if you just threw different cam caps on, the fine machining here wouldn't line up right, and you'd have all kinds of other issues. So I wanted to repair these before I had to go buying a completely new head for a machine that's already been quite a big money pit. However, what I found when I started drilling into these is that actually it turns out that they have already gone bad once, and someone had already thread inserted them once, and that the thread inserts themselves had now gone bad as well. And that's why it had gone bad here. It actually, while I think that the valve cover and the powder coating didn't help and probably contributed to the situation, these were actually bad to begin with. So, unfortunately, what that means for this quad is I now need cam caps, which means I need a head. A head is quite a bit of money. And you would not believe it if I told you this, but this quad, in its current state and all, actually still costs more than this quad in its current state, and that includes buying this quad brand new. And I have all the receipts that can back that up. I hate going through those receipts. It's very depressing, actually, because it's still on stock suspension, and it's just a mildly built motor, and it should not have cost as much as it has. But keeping this thing running has been a pain. So as far as the future of the LTR goes, the thing is, it's not really worth a whole lot of money in a non-running state, but I don't really want to go dumping a ton of money into it to make it run. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I probably will end up buying a new head. I'll probably do a new top end because it's already got almost 50 hours on it anyhow. And there's quite a bit actually wrong with the motor besides that I've just sort of limped along for years. It's a very well-loved machine, and it's had a lot of hard hours on it. And there's a lot to fix. One of the drain bolts is stripped. It's been stripped since I rebuilt the motor initially. It's kind of a long backstory, but we dropped one of the center cases when I rebuilt this motor the first time. We replaced it with another set of center cases, but we didn't check the threads, and it had a stripped drain plug, and it had a stripped oil filter cover, the long one that goes into the center cases. This one down here, you can see that. So this long one, and then yeah, that drain bolt. They're both stripped, and they both hold for now. The threads are holding up, but it makes it really, really difficult to do oil changes because you're always wondering when the day is going to come that those bolts aren't going to be able to go back in there and you're going to have a real issue. So that's unfortunate. Other than that, I can't think. There's a lot of other things that need to be done. I have a box of parts that sit over there on the shelf that need to go on this quad eventually. But yeah, it's probably going to cost me, I would say, another $1,000 just to get it running, and then we still have a starting issue that we haven't diagnosed. So keep an eye out for videos coming, because eventually I will be tackling this project. I just don't know when, because it's kind of not a high priority for me at the moment. This thing has worked out very well, and I'm very pleased with it, and I am sad the current state of affairs here, but I am in a position where I may be selling this once I get it back together. I'm not really sure though, but either way, if you are interested in kind of seeing the process of what's going to come next, make sure to stay tuned to the channel, because eventually I will tackle this project, and there will be more to come. So even if you're hoping for LTR riding videos in the future, they might not come, but at least you'll get to see me give this thing one last hurrah on putting it back together. that's pretty much the update. I don't have a race until October, late October now, because this one's been canceled. And other than that, I'm going to be trying to focus on, maybe tackling some of this project, doing some things with the dirt bike, which is not with me right now, as you can see. It makes it very easy to get around my garage, not having it here though. And I'll also maybe have some gear reviews and other things coming in the near future. So just want to give you guys an update, because I was hoping to have some content to upload this week, and now it's not coming. So stay tuned. Thanks for checking out the channel, and yeah.